So I have a surprise. It was a surprise to me, so it'll be a surprise to everybody else. I was contacted by Ameera, who has a very popular podcast YouTube channel called the Exile Lioness. And she saw one of my videos talking about Kevin Samuels and the decline of masculinity and the decline of traditionalism. And she decided that she wanted to join the fun and jump on a video with serious and silliness and give her expertise, if you will. So without further ado, here's Ameera from the Exile Lioness. Hello.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak with you, Serious and Silliness. Serious and Silliness.
You could just call me John or Uncle John. Serious and Silliness is just the podcast name.
Right. Thank you so much, Uncle John, for letting me have this opportunity. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity. This is very nice. I caught one of your interviews with, I don't remember her name, but she was a sweet lady. She was kind of tough like a bullet, you know, and you guys
I did a few of them, but I think the one you're talking about is Danielle Andrews. She is a therapist from North Carolina.
Right. Yeah. Therapist. There you go. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. And I said, I've got to talk to you. So here I am.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So why don't you give us a little bit about your background and what you do, where you're from, and so on and so forth.
Okay, sure. So my name is Ameera. I'm also known as the Exile Lioness here on YouTube. Mm-hmm. My channel mainly focuses on politics, conservatism, and I want to say modern women. Per se.
Okay.
And let me see, I am Middle Eastern, I am Muslim, I am also Republican, conservative as well. So that's usually where my channel gets kind of blown up because of that, because of me being Muslim and being a conservative. A lot of people don't see that, and they don't see a lot of Muslim women speaking out on political topics, but I do. And typically when women go political, they typically go more left. So
yeah, well, I could understand why somebody who is Muslim is conservative. I mean, you have traditional values, you have the traditional family, you have a masculine father, a feminine mother in the house. You're very religious. So anybody who says they don't understand it, I don't get it, you know.
Oh, but, people really don't. They really don't understand.
Where from the Middle East is your family from?
So my family's from Lebanon, but we also have family from Qatar as well. So.
What's funny is, I know we were talking about this before, but one of my favorite bodybuilders his name is Fouad Abiad. He's in Canada, but his family's from Lebanon.
Oh, nice.
Fun fact. You don't really, you know, not that you're gonna know who he is, but you know.
No, I might look them up just because you said so. I do watch UFC, but I don't really typically watch any other type of sports.
Yeah, if you watch my if you watch or listen to my podcast is usually about power sports. So it's always about bodybuilding, powerlifting. I uploaded today a video on one of the best arm wrestlers in the world. So arm wrestling. So it's all things like that's all guy related stuff. And the stuff that I do on mine is I do videos and podcasts on masculinity, the decline of masculinity, how to be masculine. I try to have fun with it and so on and so forth. But everything I do on my podcast is basically guy stuff, because I don't know any girl stuff.
I completely understand. Like, my channel isn't girly either. My channel is rather on the men's side, and most of my following is men. And it's not because of me being naked or me having my breast out. That's not why. They're usually there because logic and things that don't require much emotion are usually manly things. So
yeah, but I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Because I am going to tell you that probably the large majority of men that are following you is not because of your opinion, but probably because of how attractive you are.
No, I'm sure that helps. I mean, I am sure that helps.
No, I have that problem too. I got all kinds of girls coming on my, you know. No, I don't have that problem.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I understand what you mean. But
I bet you it's like back in the day when we were kids. You know, when you didn't have cable, you used to have the Telemundo, which was the Spanish channel.
Yeah.
Right. And it was referred to as the poor man's porn. So if you didn't have cable, you just put it on mute and and watched the girls like, tell the news and everything.
Yeah, yeah. You see what they're wearing when they have the news. They're wearing
Yeah.
like halter tops, and you're like, what the?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Anything for ratings. So
Yeah.
don't be surprised if you find that out.
No, no. I mean, look, I'm not offended. I'm not offended at all. But I tell you what, when the comment section happens, I don't get a lot of the whole like, oh, you're so beautiful or
Oh,
anything.
that's
The
good.
comments are usually focused on the topics, which I do
Right.
appreciate.
Oh,
So
that's good.
that's yeah, that's why I say it doesn't seem like a bunch of, as we call it, Sims. It doesn't seem like Sims. It seems more like men who want to speak about these topics. So
Yeah. Okay. So basically you wanted to come on and you wanted to talk about the things that I talk about. So you could ask any questions. You could have any. What do you want to start with? Do you want to start with MGTOW, Kevin Samuels, masculinity, Western women, Western men? It's up to you. What do you want to start with?
I want to begin with culture and Kevin Samuels. What
Okay.
Kevin Samuels is doing to the culture here.
Well, see, Kevin Samuels is a tough the topic to discuss because he primarily is targeting his own community, and rightfully so, as he should, because he sees problems in his community and he thinks that he needs to address them and fix them, which is very, very admirable. Now, me, on the other hand, when I talk about Kevin Samuels, I don't do that because I'm not a Black man and that is not my reality. But when I do watch his Instagram videos and his YouTube videos, there really is a lot in common. It's not just Western Black women, but it is really Western women in general.
In general,
In
precisely.
general. I mean, I actually did a video that was really funny, the difference between Black women and white women in less than 10 minutes. I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's really funny. So, but Black women might be more assertive, they might be more aggressive, but the agenda is the same throughout Western women. The entitlement attitude and the lack of femininity, and the lack of respect for masculinity.
I think most of the Western problems that we have are just exacerbated in the Black community. They're just like whatever we have in the West is like times 10 in the Black community.
Yeah. I have to agree. I don't know why, and again,
I think I know why.
You could say it. I don't know why. I don't pretend to know why, and I don't pretend to think that I know how to fix it, because I don't. So when I discuss Kevin Samuels, I just discuss the parallel between his points and my points, because I was discussing this before I even knew who Kevin Samuels was. I mean, he was still probably big. I just didn't know who he was. And the parallel between his community and my community, so that's how, so if you want to take a shot at it, go right ahead.
Oh yeah, sure. So the reason I say that I kind of have an idea of what the problem is because I'm Muslim and I come from a cultural background, as you know, is very much, the men are the important ones and the women are the helpers to the men. And I accept my role as that, so what I see is the complete opposite. So I see my community and I see the Black community. I see what we have going the opposite in the Black community. Does that make sense? Yes. So where in my culture, a woman being promiscuous is like a death sentence for her pretty much. In the Black community, it's kind of embraced. It's kind of like be independent, be sexually free. Where we have men and as the head of the homes, they have women as the head of the home. It's kind of basically everything is opposite from my culture. And when I see that's what makes me think that the men not being able to be men and being so absent is hurting the community the more out of anything. I think that's the thing that's hurting the community most.
Right. Okay. Those are very valid points, and I will let Kevin Samuels address them, not me.
Oh, so you feel like very nervous because it's Black people? That's why you feel so shy to say anything?
No, it's not that I feel shy, and this is the God's honest truth. Okay, I'd say 50% of my friends are Black, and they don't adhere to that stereotype. Any one of my friends.
Which stereotype?
Well, the stereotype that you pointed out, the lack of the lack of husband and fathers in the home, and so on and so forth. So it's
Right.
not that
No,
it's not that I
there's always
disagree.
gonna be
It's not that I
some.
disagree. I don't disagree. It's just the fact that the reason why one of the reasons why I don't drive it home is, one, I'm not Black, and it is not my fight, and it's not my reality, and I don't know how to fix it, and I don't know what the internal problems are because I'm not part of that community. The other reason why I don't really talk about it much is because all of my friends that are Black are strong, masculine, good husbands, good fathers at home. Matter of fact, I told a story. One of my best friends, Steve Smith, he's on one of my podcasts with me. It's called Guy Talk. It's the one I was explaining about to you before, about how we just hang out and shoot the shit, and we're just drinking and so on and so forth. Well, he has this really story. He has this, his backstory is amazing. He was with his wife since he was like, I think 19 or 20. And they wanted to have children. They got married. They bought a house. They lived in the Bronx. They wanted to have children. This was years before, it was before I even knew him. And she had gotten pregnant, and the baby died, I think, during childbirth for some kind of complications. I don't know, because I didn't pry into any detail, because I didn't want to really go any deeper. You know, if he wanted to tell me, that was one thing, but I didn't want to pry because he was just basically telling me what had happened. After that, he and his wife, he had to go through some serious times with his wife because of not only physical problems, but much more psychological problems. There was a lot of medication, a lot of therapy. It took her 3 years before she was actually mentally stable. So once she became stable, they decided, okay, if getting pregnant is complicated, then we're going to adopt. So they try to adopt, and they find this boy who was an infant, and they had the boy for 3 years, and for 3 years they're going back and forth fighting, so on and so forth, fighting in the court system to try and adopt this little boy. And after some time, they give the little boy custody back to the biological mother. The biological mother has like 8 children from 8 different fathers, in and out of the system, so on and so forth. So they wind up losing the baby after fighting. And then a few years later, his wife is diagnosed with cancer. And when she was dying, he was in her bed with her, holding her, and he passed in his arms.
Wait, she passed away in his arms?
Yes. And through all that, he never left her, or never, they never separated or whatnot. So when I have friends like that, and when I have friends that are Black and are raising good kids and are masculine men and so on and so forth, and work hard, because I'm a sewer worker in New York City, and they work with me. It has been my decision since I started this podcast not to speak about the problems in the inner city or in the Black community, because of those 2 reasons. Because I have friends that I respect greatly, and because it's not my reality, and I don't think it's my place. I mean, anybody can say whatever the hell they want. I really don't care. But that's why I don't do it.
I tend to look at people as an American society. How can I say? I understand what you're saying. You don't want to speak on it because you don't feel like you're a part of the community. But at the same time, it's like, as Americans and as a Western society, we should be able to all notice and point out things that are wrong, because we are in this together. No matter if you Black or you white, we are in this together, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. So that's why I mean, of course, I couldn't speak on personal experience. If we're talking about like racism or something, I couldn't speak on that. But speaking on the issues between men and women, I don't think it's a color issue. I do believe it's a
no. I agree. I think in the United States and Western America, it is across the board. There are serious problems. Serious problems.
But that's why I say, like, when it comes to things like that, I don't think that we have to be race specific and say, well, I'm not a part of that community, so I can't speak on it. Well, you're a man. and I'm a woman,
No,
and we know
right.
how it is to be men and women.
Yeah,
So.
I could speak on, excuse me, so sorry. I could speak on men and women's relationships and so on and so forth, but I don't, so sorry. I don't chop it up into sections, into race sections. It's basically Western women and Western men.
That's
So
why I love watching Kevin Samuels. So my thing is, a lot of people, I don't know if you know, many races watch Kevin Samuels. In the comment section, you will see all types of men commenting in the comment section. And this is not just something, like we said, it's not just in the Black community, these issues. These are all Western problems.
See, I'm going to point something out. Before, when we were texting and we were trying to get together and do this collaboration, you had said to me, let me text you back. I have to help my mother. Right. And what were you helping her doing?
We were gardening.
Okay. So basically, your responsibility is to be part of the home, and you're learning to be to adopt those feminine traits that your mother is passing down to you.
Yes.
That's missing in Western American culture. And I see it firsthand. I am from a traditional background, but I am from a third generation. So the traditional values they're dwindling. So my grandparents are from Sicily, and my mother and my cousins and whatnot, they have all my sister-in-laws, they all have that feminine role. So the holidays, the women are cooking and cleaning, and the men are basically paying for everything and doing the grunt work and whatnot. Yeah. But today in the Italian community, well, there's really not much of an Italian community much anymore, but because everybody's moved out to the suburbs. But the girls aren't raised like that anymore. My nieces, and I love them to death, and they are growing up to be nice girls and so on and so forth. My nieces, during the holidays, sat on the couch and did not do anything but wait to open gifts.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was my sister-in-laws, my mother, my wife, that would help in the kitchen and so on and so forth. And the girls basic, and well, still to this day, really, one is married. Still to this day, they are just not taught that. They're not. And my sister-in-laws are busting their butt. My mom, well, my mom doesn't really do much anymore because she's 86. So it's been passed down to my sister-in-laws, but my wife.
That's lovely. Congratulations to your mom for
thank you. She'll be 86 in a month, actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, and it's like that across the board. And what I've also been seeing is the not respecting masculinity. So these women are raised not to be feminine. So they're raised to go out and get your own. Go out and don't depend on a man. Get your education and do it on your own. So then inevitably, if you're going to raise a woman to be dominant, then she is going to marry somebody that's submissive. It's just common sense. Nobody.
But you can't bump heads.
Yeah. You're going to date somebody or marry somebody that compliments you, not goes against the grain, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening is these girls are dating and marrying submissive men. Not yeah, it's unbelievable. Not men like myself or like my brothers or like my father. Well, my father was a little extreme, but still, he was very, very alpha. Or like my uncles or anything like that. They're basically dating down, and they kind of like that idea of control. A woman's instinct to control was always there, but it was more about controlling the monster, if you will, controlling the more masculine, dominant man. Right. And it would be like in high school where, I don't know if it had it. I mean, it's been years since high school. It would be like, if you hit on a girl, if you wanted to talk to a girl because you thought she was pretty, you had to be worried about her boyfriend. Right.
You mean her father?
No, her boyfriend. I'm talking about if a girl is in high school. So I'm speaking instinctually. Right. So back in the day, it was, be careful talking to her. She's dating so-and-so and he'll come and beat you up right?
Oh,
So
right, because the masculinity, the
right.
masculinity is
So
there, yeah.
but she held the control. Don't just watch what you say to me, or my boyfriend will come and beat you up. And it's happened plenty and plenty of times. That doesn't seem to be much of the case anymore. Now it's more about
No.
just total control and dating somebody that is completely submissive. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was getting a phone call.
There
I'm
you
coming
go.
back.
Oh, I hate when that
Yeah, my
happens.
husband is calling me. I told him I'm on a meeting, but he's calling me. So
Oh, okay.
it's okay. Sorry.
So one of the problems about so then what inevitably what happens is instinctually women don't like a weak man or a submissive man or a beta or whatever or a simp. So then inevitably after so much time they lose complete respect for them. And then it's just a cycle. So if a man is the symbol of masculinity, which he is because he's a man, and the woman doesn't, his wife doesn't give him any respect, well, then his children aren't going to give him any respect. And they're going to actually grow up and the women are going to grow up and date submissive men. And the boys will grow up and actually wind up dating dominant women,
That's true.
you
That's
know,
true.
and
And no one is happy that way either.
no one is
No
happy that
one is
way.
happy.
And the biggest problem is I wish women would understand, I wish more Western women would understand that it is more dangerous being with somebody that is incompetent than somebody that is dominant. Okay. It is
Yes.
more, I mean, how I had this conversation with another therapist, and there are times in life where things go terribly wrong, where chaos happens or something terrible happens. And
You never know.
Yeah, and the most obvious thing I could point to is when a family member dies, because everybody can relate to that. Everybody can go through that. Everybody has gone through that. When a family member dies, well, usually, I don't care how dominant a woman is, she's going to break down and cry, especially if it is somebody close to her, like a father, brother, son, God forbid. She's going to break down and she's going to cry and she's going to be a mess because that's how she's made. She's made emotional.
Right.
Somebody has to be the strong one. Somebody has to be the one in the family that the other family members and friends could rely on. Somebody
What
has
we
to.
have happening now is that when the man tries to be strong, he's told that he's being toxic, and
Yeah.
you are not
And,
allowed. But when the woman does the same thing, it's seen as good.
Right. Yeah. With that, yeah, we'll get to that. Definitely, the masculine traits in a woman are praised, but they're actually talked down to by a man's point of view. But what I'm saying is, if you have a masculine man in the home, he is going to be able to stay strong and be the one people could rely on. Traditionally, that's always been the case. So the example I use is when a family member dies. When a family member dies, somebody has to be there to stay strong. Not everybody can't collapse and cry. Children, there's a great quote. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Godfather.
I did.
Okay, so there's a great quote with Marlon Brando. He says, "Women could be weak, and women could be careless, and children can be careless. Men cannot."
Men cannot.
Right, and there's a reason for that, and that's the reason. The reason is when chaos happens, when terrible things happen, a man has to step up and be strong. So if I use the example of somebody dies, you have to in my world, right, being Catholic, you have to get the church, you have to get the undertaker, the wake, you have to transfer the body from wherever it is to the wake. We have dinners after every day. Usually it's 2 days of a wake and then a burial, and so you usually have dinners planned for each one of those nights. You have to make reservations for, and you got to know how many people that you're gonna have, and then the men pay. All right. So when my father passed, me and my brothers all paid. Well, actually, me and my brothers, my uncle, paid for all the dinners and so on and so forth. If you don't have a man that's strong, that all collapses.
And you do understand that if women were tasked to do everything that you just mentioned, the woman would take it as too much. She would be overwhelmed because she would say, "I can't deal with this right now. I'm grieving. I need to stay in my bed."
Very overwhelmed. And that's what I mean by saying it is more dangerous marrying somebody who is incompetent than somebody who's dominant. It is
I agree.
tremendously more dangerous. Also, the protection instinct. You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact, both of my brothers have and both of my brothers have daughters. They're all big now. One just got married. Um, but the protective instinct, if somebody were to ever harm one of my daughters, one of my nieces, my brother's daughters, I the next phone call I would get is probably my brother being arrested. You know, I say I do this trick with women all the time, and they go, you know, I say like somebody like yourself, who's your favorite actor? What actor do you like to watch on in the movies or in a television show? Who's your favorite actor? And inevitably, who do you choose? Who do you, you know? So somebody like yourself. I mean, if I say who's your favorite American actor, who do you choose?
Oh, my favorite actor. I like Denzel Washington.
A perfect example. Perfect example. The manliest man you can possibly get on planet Earth.
Hey, you're right. You're right.
No woman ever says, "Oh, that's Seth Rogen or that Jonah Hill." Really, really does it for me. No, it's either like a Denzel Washington, The Rock. My wife loves
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Jason Momoa. You go down the line. Nobody picks Woody Allen. Nobody picks Seth Rogen. Nobody picks Jonah Hill.
You're right.
Yeah. Because that's their instinct. They want a strong masculine man.
That's
but
true.
but two things happen. They're brought up to be dominant, and they also their instinct for control trumps that because they're brought up to be dominant.
Well, you know what I've noticed? Another thing that comes up a lot in conversations like these is the topic of, I know that I'm younger than you, so I'm just soaking in all your wisdom.
Well,
I'm just
thank you
soaking it.
so
So
much.
if I am
That's
quiet,
one of the biggest compliments you could possibly give me, because that's another thing that's not respected anymore is when you get older, you have wisdom, you know. When you get older, you learn, you know. When you're young, you're beautiful. When you're older, you're smart. That's how it goes.
true. Yeah, true. No, that's true. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I have to say something to you.
Go ahead.
So in my culture, because of your age, which is respectable, is not, you know, because of your age, when you speak, I'm quiet, of course, because this is how I'm
Oh,
taught. When elders speak, you shut up. So uh I'm sorry if I'm being too quiet, but I did want to
oh,
bring up something to you.
sure.
So uh, in my culture, the women, just like you said, when you're young, you're beautiful. When you're older, you're smart for women. Um, in my culture, the women, the younger you are, the more quiet you have to be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what we have when the family meets together, the elderly women, not elderly, the elder women of the
Right.
family, the elder women of the family, they can be loud, obnoxious, laughing hard, and talking with men, with the men of the family. They can actually speak with them as one. And us younger, we cannot do that. We're not allowed to be like ha 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 with the men. We have to be in the kitchen quiet. You know, like when the men come, you put your head down and be quiet. You know, you're like, oh my God, you know, but and that's one thing that I want to bring up to you. You said when you're young, you're beautiful and you're good to look at, but you're not really that pleasant to speak to. So I
Yeah, and
understand.
there's something to be said about that. Some people would say, "Oh, you know, that's old and you know, and outdated," but there's something to be said about that. Uh, when I nobody acts like a lady anymore, quote unquote, right? When you one of the things that Kevin Samuels talks about, and one of the things that I talk about, not that I'm on the same level as he is, but is when a woman is feminine. So when you have a woman that is feminine, one of the traits of being feminine is acting like a lady and not being obnoxious and not getting drunk in front of people and not being loud and obnoxious and boisterous and so on and so forth and dancing like, you know, a prostitute in the middle of a wedding and so on and so forth. Yeah. Same movie called the Godfather. There's a scene where they're at Michael Corleone's son's communion party. So they're having some dancing and music and whatnot. So there's four brothers, right? There's well, no, Sonny's dead at this point. So there's three brothers. So there's Michael, Fredo, Tom, and then there's the sister, Connie. Okay. all the women are basically at Fredo is the screw up of the crew. Okay, he's the mess
Yeah,
up.
we know that's what they call Chris Cuomo.
Right. He's the mess up. All the women are at the table acting ladylike and sitting around their husbands and so on and so forth. And Fredo's wife is dancing drunk and stupid on a dance floor, and she kind of falls on the floor and she's being obnoxious. And Michael says to one of his guys to tell Fredo to stop it, and he says his one of his henchmen go over to Fredo and says, "Look, if you can't control her," Michael says, "I have to." And he says, "I think you better." So one of his henchmen just grabs the girl and pulls her off the dance floor and takes her to her room. Well, what I'm trying to say is that there used to be a way where women carried themselves like ladylike, but today it is a given that women just get drunk and stupid and sloppy and dress like really provocative and dance provocative and flirt with other men, even when their men is around. Nothing is ladylike whatsoever anymore. And
Can
this
I say
again,
something?
absolutely, go right ahead.
So when you speak like about that, I want to bring up something that I see as a phenomenon in the West. A
Mhm.
lot of Western women don't even know what it means to be feminine. They think that femininity is wearing makeup, dresses and heels, and doing your hair nice. They're like, I'm feminine. I wear dresses. I like to get my nails done. I'm like, that's not feminine.
That is a
I'm like,
small part of it.
yeah, I'm like, and even if you didn't have that done, there is still femininity that is in your action, in your presence, in your
Mhm.
in the way you're the way you sound, smell, and look. These are the most feminine things in my book, in my culture. A woman, the first things you notice about her is how she sounds, smells, and looks if you're in her presence. So these three things must be very much taken care of, like smell like a lady, sound like a lady, look like a lady.
Mhm.
You have to act appropriately. Sorry, English
No,
is
no,
my
it's okay.
third language. so
No, it's all right.
so yeah, and it's just like I noticed that a lot of Western women don't even know what it means. They think femininity just means I wear dresses and I wear heels.
Yeah, no, they really don't, because then nobody ever showed them. Or if nobody ever showed them, they're learning opposite. They believe that is just old world, and I don't need to do that, and that's not modern anymore.
They call
You
it being how can I call it? It's the word that they use is like being subservient, being dominated,
Yeah.
being captive in a way, because the moment that I speak about how I'm supposed to act or how I do act or how my family acts, they say, oh, well, you guys are just what, you just get beat by your husbands if you don't act like that, or you just this or that, or you're forced to act like that. If you were actually a free woman, you wouldn't do this. And I'm like,
These are all things that that justify why women are single. Um, this is what when women can't find a man, they never self-reflect. Generally speaking, I'm painting with a broad brush, and I'm talking about Western American women.
no,
When
it happens.
when a woman is single and usually after the age of 30, usually they justify it. They say things like, there's that catchphrase I brought up on the other podcast, if you can't handle me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. The other is, oh, you just can't handle me, or I'm just a pretty lady with masculine energy, and you go down the list, and it's nothing more than, oh, I would, they see they see their friends getting married or having children, and they say, oh, wow, God, I could never do that. I could never stay home and be a housewife, or I could never, make dinner for my husband, and they just justify it. And I think modern women are really confused. I think that's the problem. I think instinctively they really do want to be married and so on and so forth, and to have
They
children.
do.
And
They
and
do.
and at the other way, it's but they have been told that they could do everything. You could do it all. You can go to school, you can have a career, you could have children. No, it doesn't really work that way.
I
I
think
mean, go right
Oh,
ahead.
I think the best way that I've heard it said was women want to be married, but they don't want to be wives. They want to be married, but they don't want to be a wife.
That's really
You
good.
don't understand what the duty is when it is, like they don't want to do the work. They
Mhm.
want to have the ring and the title and the perks that come with being married. You know, they want all of the good things, but they don't want to do the work and to deal with the, you know, with your husband possibly telling you, no, I'm not going to let you go out like that. Put some
Right.
clothes on.
Right.
No, you can't go hang out with these women. These girls are loose. I don't want you hanging around, my wife hanging around those women.
Right.
They don't want to be told, you know, and that's one thing that I say, you want to be married, but you don't want to be a wife.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, and that's why I say, he who findeth a wife, findeth a good thing, because, you know, a woman is a wife before she's married. Like I said, in my culture, we are wives from, you know, from like 12 years old, we're wives, because we already know how to take care of the house. We know how to deal, you know, serve our men in the family. We know how to do it. You just happen to marry us and we're already wives.
Right.
So it's
Right.
okay.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's like you already come with the package ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know your culture, but I understand fully, because it used to be like that with the Italian culture, you know.
Wait, so I'm sorry, the Italian
Yeah.
culture is not, is
Not
also
no.
falling with
Yeah,
this?
absolutely, 100%. Well, 100%. It is. It is.
Hmm.
If you really, if a guy wants to get his ego checked, go to Brooklyn or go to Staten Island or go to Long Island or go to Jersey, and go to like some kind of bar or club or whatnot, and try to talk to a an Italian girl, and you'll get your ego checked quick. Or even worse than an Italian girl is any Eastern European girl, Russian, Ukrainian, Chechnyan, Albanian. Oof, wow. Because I grew up in Brooklyn, and where I grew up was all Italian. Now the area is mixed, but there were neighborhoods that were, you know, all, you know, Eastern European. So Brighton Beach, Coney Island now is all Italian. Sheepshead Bay. I mean, I'm sorry, Coney Island now is all Russian and Ukrainian. Sheepshead Bay is all Russian and Ukrainian. And every girl that I ever dated or spoke to that was from that background, oh my God, it's
Now, is this a
unbelievable.
bad thing? You're saying get your ego checked, meaning that they're
Well, to
very
me,
rude?
it's a bad thing, because I would not want anything to do with those girls.
They're
You
very
know,
rude.
oh yeah, extremely, extremely rude, you know. And then they, you know, and then they just blame it on whatever, you know. Oh, I have well, what is it, resting bitch face, you know, where I just look mean all the time. Well, you know, they'll say, I don't know you, you know, I can't deal with everybody trying to talk to me. I'm just trying to do my own thing. uh,
Oh, I'm
uh
sorry that we're
yeah,
paparazzi for you.
yeah, right. All the excuses come up and so on and so forth. And I told my niece, remember when my niece was growing up, I said, never be rude. I said, I used to tell her, always be nice, but be a bitch when it's time to be a bitch.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no reason to not be nice or not to be polite. Now, that being said, I mean, there are very, very, very polite women that I've been to, but generally speaking, and when I was single, I stayed clear away from Italian girls and Eastern European girls.
So you
My
didn't marry an Italian?
my wife is Greek. No.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to change topics? You want to move on to another one?
Sure.
All right. So you
So
choose. You're the guest. So you choose.
okay, so all of the things that we've been talking about regarding women has triggered a response from the men in this culture. Now, the response from the men has varied between um, men being red pilled, men saying that they are either going their own way, or there's also been an upcoming phenomena of incels, they call it, which are involuntary celibates.
Mhm.
There's also been there's a trend going on with men being metrosexual, turning to be more feminine and actually blending in with women rather than actually dating them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and there's also, let's see, who was left out? Um, I
MGTOW.
guess,
Right.
yeah, MGTOW, there you go. And men who have just completely said,
Mhm.
I'm not dealing.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the response from men? And do you think that this response is making the culture worse or better?
Of course, it's making it worse.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because but I understand. But there's a couple of things. And I know I'm an older generation. I'm Generation X. Okay, but the first thing is these guys generally aren't very masculine to begin with. They don't even know how to be masculine. I mean, they don't. It's unbelievable. I mean, the new generations. It's just it's And it's probably because of, like I said, the lack of masculine men in the home, or lack of men in the home and the more dominant women around, and so on and so forth. But I mean, men aren't men anymore. It's just pitiful. We'll get into that. But of course you're going to have a response like, I don't want anything to do with women, when you get divorced and the divorce laws favor women and you lose everything. So after being destroyed financially, you go, forget it. I am never doing this again. My middle brother went through that. My middle brother is a contractor. He had a home. He had the building in Park Slope.
Oh,
He had a business. He owned the building that he worked out of. Well, he was a contractor, like I said. He was married. He had 2 kids, and his wife stayed home and was a housewife. And years later, I think they were married for about 13 years. She decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. He lost his house.
just up out of nowhere decided I don't want
Well,
to be
there's more
married.
to the story, but I just don't want to get deep
Oh,
into it, only
oh,
because
okay,
people
yeah,
watch
sorry
this.
about that.
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
okay. So when they got divorced, he didn't want to get divorced. He wanted to stay married. Um, he lost his house. His business was failing miserably, probably because he didn't have his head in the game, because he was the owner and operator of an electrical contracting business. Um, he had to sell his building in Park Slope because he didn't have any money. And he had to move back in with my mother. And he was 38 when this happened, you know?
And you never hear about story. I'm sorry to cut you off. You never
No,
hear about stories like this with women. You never hear about women losing it all and having
no,
to return to the parents'
no.
house. Why? Because the government subsidizes women. And aside from that, you will still, even when a woman gets divorced in this country, it's like hitting the lotto. It's like, oh, now I'm divorced. Now I can just cash out on
Mm-hmm.
all the years that I've spent with this person. And that's an incentive for women to actually do this to men. If this incentive wasn't there, I wonder, would women be so excited to divorce? 80% of
Yeah.
divorces are initiated by women.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely not. They would not. They would not. Because if you just look in my parents' generation, my parents didn't have a great marriage. But divorce was never part of the vocabulary, right?
No, no.
Um, no, and another thing is, another problem is that women don't. Is that your husband trying to call you again?
No, no, no. My battery is low. I gotta connect my charger.
Another issue is that women aren't stepping up and saying that this is wrong. There's no resentment from women whatsoever when you try to pick and probe at why you got divorced, and instinctively, it's always instinctively, I know that the women want it out, because they usually, when I talk to girls that got divorced, it's always a blanket statement. It's always things like, he's not the same man that I married, or he was very narcissistic, or he was too
It was toxic.
it was toxic, he was controlling,
Yes.
he was verbally abusive, you know um it was all these, it's just a very blanket statement.
Women are women are very intolerant now. If you notice, women for any reason they will just up and leave because it's like I don't have to tolerate anything anymore.
Yeah,
It's
and they don't, and not that they don't, it's just that there's no drawback. Their lives stay the same, except you take the husband out of the relationship. They don't lose the house, they don't lose the kids, and they gain more money, you
Thank
know
you. Thank you. That's exactly what I've been trying to point out. And oh my God, so many people fight me on this. And
Yeah,
they're
it's
like,
just,
women are.
you don't have to argue. You don't have to argue. You could just look at the facts, look at the proof. you know I mean, listen, my brother, after 13 years of marriage, and you know what, and I'm not saying this because it's my brother. My niece got married this weekend. Now, he has since gotten remarried, and he has a healthy marriage, and his kids are big, and he did an excellent job, being what he had, being a part-time father. Okay, and this is what I mean about being masculine. The son of the I mean, my his son-in-law, the groom, wasn't going to have a bachelor party. For some reason, he didn't have a bachelor party. I don't know why. So he said, I'm taking everybody out. So my brother invited all the guys. We all go out to dinner, and then right upstairs from the dinner was like the cigar bar. And my brother and the kid's father was there. My niece's stepfather was there. I was there. All the kids' friends were there. All the relatives. My brother would not take $1 from anybody. He paid for everything because this was the son. This was the man that was marrying his daughter. And I was like so proud. I was so proud that that was my brother. Not only did he overcome everything that happened, but he
So
showed.
you turned into a greater man.
Yeah, and I was so proud. I even texted him the next day that I was told him I'm proud to be your little brother. He wouldn't let anybody pay for anything. He wouldn't let you go in your pocket for anything. And that's not the first time he did it. He did it on my bachelor party. He took all the guys out to dinner on my bachelor party. We're talking 10, 12 guys. He did it at when my nephew got married. He took all the guys out to dinner then. He wouldn't pay any. He wouldn't. There's 10, 12 guys. The bill's got to be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 because everybody's drinking, and he wouldn't let anybody,
That's how it is in my culture as well. My culture, we fight for the bill, and
Yeah.
it's a huge problem. Like people will literally fist fight to pay the bill, not to
Yes.
not pay the bill.
No,
to
no.
pay.
Yeah.
We have had actual brawls happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, me too. I used to get into my father, not so much me, because people don't fight me on the bill, and nobody really fights. No Western American man fights on the bill anymore
No.
because they're not masculine anymore.
Mhm.
But same thing. My
They
father.
don't mind being paid for.
No, they all got long pockets with short arms. Yeah, it's bad. It's unbelievable. And to me, I don't know how a woman wants to be with a guy like that. That's cheap and doesn't want to. I don't get it.
And sometimes I wonder, I have to go in like 5 minutes because I have to get downstairs and tend to my brother-in-law and my husband. But I want to tell you, I wonder sometimes if women actually knew what a masculine man is like, if they actually felt what it's like to be covered by a masculine man, to be, protected by one, and to actually feel what it means. I think that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for, is to have my masculine father raise a feminine daughter who married a man just like him,
That's
masculine.
right.
And it's like, I wonder if women actually felt it, would they feel the same way? Because I think what the problem is, a lot of women don't know what it feels like or looks like. They only know that they see a man with muscles, maybe like you, muscles and anything, and they scared. They're like, oh, he's probably toxic. He's probably controlling. And it's like, yeah, but this man probably would give you the best life you've ever had.
Yeah.
But you don't know that.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna say one thing pertaining to exactly what you said, and it's going to be a little bit controversial. This might be the most controversial thing I've ever said. Anytime you have a traditional family with a masculine man and a feminine woman, if you ever notice, the large majority of the times, the family stays intact.
Yeah.
But if you have the reverse,
always separates, always breaks.
the family usually falls apart. Doesn't even mean that they get divorced, but the family falls apart. The kids aren't raised right. It's always something is.
The kids turn into like psychologically unstable people. I don't understand how this happens so badly, but usually the mental stability is not there. And usually the boys that grow up in those kind of families are very insecure and they're very unsure of themselves. And when they grow up, they don't know how to show their I don't know how to say it. Like,
well, the father doesn't show them how to be a father because he's weak, right? And the mother, if she's dominant, she doesn't know how to show him how to be a man because she's a woman. But what she'll do is she'll just belittle him and yell at him and scream at him, "You're doing this wrong," and so on and so forth, and blah blah blah. And then the girls will grow up trying to emulate their mothers, and they usually wind up marrying men
dominating their brothers, and they dominate their brothers. Yeah.
And so it's
one more thing. I want to say something a little bit controversial too, since we're doing controversial. My controversial statement to you before I leave is this. Single mothers who raise boys, they raise them very badly, but the reason being is this. Women, because of how the system is set up where you cannot hit a woman if she hits you back, women are uber aggressive in this country. They are more aggressive a lot of times than the men, physically speaking. I have seen a lot of women attack men physically more than I've seen men attack one another.
Yeah.
The reason being is because women, of course, between us, we know women, you can't hit her. So she always thinks that she's protected. She can hit you. She can go up to a grown man and slap him across the face and not expect to be slapped back.
Right.
In my country, you will get slapped back. You can do that, but you're gonna get slapped back.
Right, right,
So
right, right, right.
the thing is this, when a single mother like that raises a son, she raises him to act like her. So what she doesn't understand is that boy, when he does it, he has consequences because no man is going to let another man slap them across the face and nothing
Right,
happened to them. So what he's doing is acting like his mother, expecting the
right,
same results that his mother got, but he will not get that. So
right.
it ends up being a situation where the men are in a worse situation. They are in more danger because they think that, oh, I can go stop a man if I get mad and I'm going to be fine. No, you're not. You
No,
might
no, you're
actually
not.
get shot.
You got, yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go, and I think we should continue this because we didn't even touch on nearly
Yeah.
every. We didn't
Yeah.
go in depth.
The other
We didn't
topics
go
I
in
can
depth
touch
on
on.
MGTOW. We didn't go on depth of masculinity. We didn't go. We didn't go in depth on. We should have a part two.
And I want to do court. I want to talk about court and the American family court as well with you.
Okay,
So
we'll do that. We'll do that too. We'll definitely have a second part.
thank you for inviting me on your show, or thank you for having me rather.
Of course,
And
my pleasure.
hopefully I'll see you again.
Definitely, my pleasure.